Hi, everyone. I'm Whitney Lacayo, third grade reading language arts teacher at Timberlakes Elementary. Do you use sticky notes regularly in your classroom, but you're tired of the mess that they create or your students continuously seem to run out of them? Then I have a great solution for you. It's called Google Jamboard. This is our topic for this week's Tech Tip Tuesday. Google Jamboard is a great way for your students to collaborate in class or in any type of meeting that you have if you present anything. It kind of looks like a whiteboard, but it's very interactive for your students. Go in to all of your Google apps where you normally access Drive and Classroom and Sheets. You will keep going down and you will see the J for Jamboard. It'll open it up and you'll see any Jamboards that you've used. This one was actually used by my instructional coaches. And to create a new one, you just push the plus down here to create a new jam. So when it comes up, of course, it's untitled. You'll want to give it a name. Here's where you'll see all the frames. So right now there's only one frame. It's kind of like what I think of like a slide, one frame. There's lots of things I can do. I can change the background. I've got lined paper. I've got graph paper. I've got dots. I can also put an image. From here, I can use a pen, which obviously could get very sloppy, but you could, an eraser. Here is where you create your sticky notes. The kids can change the color of the sticky note and post it. Then you have them all over the place. It can get really messy, but you can, as the teacher, you can manipulate them and move them around. You can also add images, circles if you're creating some sort of graphic, text if you need to add text, and then a laser, which is kind of cool that I can utilize and then it disappears. So it's very easy if you're used to any of the Google Slides documents. It's very easy and user friendly. And it doesn't take a lot of time. With the text, there are not a lot of options. You're very limited. When I go to it, the only options I have is where I want the text at. There's 6 color choices and then the sizing. So there's not tons of, fonts and stuff. It's very simple, but it's a great way to have your students collaborate and share information. So it's a great resource to use really in any classroom and any level of classroom. It doesn't matter if it's elementary, middle, or high school. All students enjoy it, and it's very user-friendly for all of those students. I'm going to go over a few ways that you can use Google Jamboard in your classroom. So just a few ideas. One of the things that I do is every day my students have a picture of the day and they observe and infer what they see and what they think is happening in the picture. We typically do it in a notebook, but I have used a Google Jamboard before for them to make their observations and inferences. And so there's a way that you can create with pictures and, of course, text. And then there is a sticky note tab here that every student, when they access the Jamboard, they can create a sticky note and they get to put their information in. I always just make sure that the students put their name at the end so I know what sticky note belongs to who, because there's no way of doing that. So in this one, obviously there's an observation. I see men in water and I infer that it's flooding. So this is a great way to share information, and eventually your whole Jamboard is full of sticky notes of all of your students' observations and inferences. Another thing you can do is a reader's response. A lot of times we do this in, again, our reading journals, but you could also do it in one location. That way your students can see each other's responses as well, instead of like putting it up on the board and losing all the sticky notes. Eventually they fall off, it becomes a mess. This way, all of that information is here. Again, I would have them put their name at the end of it or somewhere on that sticky note so you know who it belongs to. This is a great way to collaborate. So there can be one Jamboard and many students utilizing it. It could be a group project, a presentation, anything that you want your students to collaborate on. They can be working on the same Jamboard, creating and manipulating the information. Another way is to do like a type of vote. So if you do voting activities in your classroom, it's a great way to gather the information instead of using all the sticky notes in the classroom. Another way would be like pros and cons, things that you're for and against. This would be great like in a history class, or if you're discussing, a sensitive topic, any type of debate, this would work in. And so you could leave the students could leave their information, whether they're for it or against it, and their reasoning behind it. Another reason you might use Google Jamboard is just to do a brain dump, right? So you have this slide is kind of what it's like. They call them frames in Google Jamboard, and you just do a brain dump of everything that you remember about maybe a topic or something that you've learned in class. If it's a math class, maybe it's what you learned on fractions or what you learned on place value. It could be used in any class just to do a brain dump of all the information that you know. And then one of my favorite things is that you can do a whole class Jamboard. Everyone gets a frame, and the first thing the students do, of course, is write their name at the top of it. And then, like if you've given them a prompt or answering a question, they add images and drawings, and then they can go and look at each other's Jamboards to see, what other information is out there. And that is Google Jamboard. I hope that tool helps you provide a lot more collaboration in your classroom amongst your students, and also helps alleviate the mess of those sticky notes. Meet us back here next week for another Tech Tip Tuesday.